Yeah, it was
Now you're retired in.
Yeah,
more
cook
something for 2 weeks.
So, who's
Well, that's not that far.
Yeah,
I used to cover
I
that.
noticed all of them. Isn't it crazy?
I used to cover that. I did too. Hey, Earl, were you in Florida last week? When I was in Lebanon. Oh, really? Of course, they didn't drill me.
I was back in that area.
Oh. You're going to be up there.
Okay, I have some stuff for everyone. Will please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Here.
Mr. Davies?
Here.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Here.
Mrs. Gill?
Here.
Mrs. Clyde? Here. Mrs. Sherrick?
Here. Thank you. On pages 1 through 5, you have the February 12th, 2024 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 12, 2024 minutes.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Abstain.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mr. Paisy?
Yes.
And on pages 6 through 9, the January bank reconciliation.
I'll make a motion to approve January reconciliation.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. We also have the January vouchers on pages 10 and 11.
I'll make a motion to approve the January vouchers.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. And finally, the January gas and ERUs on pages 12 through 15.
I'll make a motion to approve January's gas and ERUs.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. It's great to have a lot of visitors here this evening. We do have a couple candidates that are running for election this year, and March 19th is a big day. So I'm going to ask Ty Matthews. He's running as a candidate for the state representative, 83rd district.
Yep.
Hi.
3 minutes, right?
We have allowed the candidates.
Careful, Pat.
I will be brief. I will be
You're on
brief.
spot.
And if there's any other questions following, when I'm done, I'll step out here so I'm not as a distraction and you guys keep your meeting going. But my name is Ty Matthews, running for state representative. With these 3 minutes, I'm going to get right to it because March 19th is really coming up, and there's a ton of information out here that you're getting in your mailboxes. A lot of it's misinformation, just straight up lies. Addressing the whole Hillary Clinton, if I had supported Hillary Clinton, voted for Hillary Clinton, I have never supported Hillary Clinton in my life. There's also it's kind of absurd, a soundbite going around on the radio saying that I want to raise your taxes $2 billion. In the debate with my opponent, my exact words were, I do not want to increase your taxes. And they've actually gone in and cut out the word not, and they're running ads on it. So it says, I want to raise your taxes. Completely false. I ask each and every one of you, you have my cards. If you have any questions specifically on these issues, reach out, because right now it's just so hard to determine what is the truth out there. And that's why I'm running. On the logo, you'll see those 3 stars. It stands for God, country, and family. That's the pillars I live my life by. That's my worldview. I will always, always strive to be honest and transparent with you. Another political maneuver my opponent has tried over this campaign was going around the county and the district saying that he secured X amount of funding for these communities. Truth is, none of that is guaranteed. That still has to go through the Senate and has to get signed by the governor. And the Senate president has already come out and said that is not the bill we are going to look at. And I will never, ever do that to anyone in this room. I will never guarantee something I cannot bring to the table. I believe we need to return to integrity, character, and values in who we elect to office. We don't have to agree on everything. That doesn't mean I can call you names and throw you in the gutter. We have to come to the table and work together, no matter your party affiliation. And as a Republican, I believe we need to get our act together. That being said, is there any questions? Awesome. Thank you very much. And I will step out if anyone does have any questions, so I'm not interrupting anything.
Kath, can we ask questions? Ty, I have
Yes.
one question for you.
Yes, sir.
I've heard we've got so much negative flyers and ads. First of all, it's a shame that we've come to that. But I have to ask you, I've heard that the people that are backing you are from outside the state who want to build for-profit choice schools in Ohio. Is there anything to that? And what's your stance on choice?
Yep. So here's a kind of a, I mean, everyone's probably seen a bunch of these, right? I would tell everyone to look at the bottom to see who they're paid for. Looking at one right now, paid for the Ohio House Republican Alliance. If you're familiar with the Blue 22, the 22 Republicans that sided with the Democrats to elect their own speaker that are now censured by Ohio, that is that group putting out that information. Americans for Prosperity, that's the group you are talking about. I'm pretty sure they are also saying that they are anti-Trump. That's where a lot of that attack comes from. Americans for Prosperity, they are a free market group, and I'm not here to defend what they do or not. They can endorse whoever they want on the national level. State level, they are the prime advocates for school choice and also repealing the state income tax. It's not the municipal tax they want to do away with, it's the state income tax. So yes, I do support those policies here locally. Do I support what they did nationally with their endorsements? No. But when it comes to school choice, yes, I do believe that we need to look at how the future of our country. We have a lot of great schools here, but I don't want to just say, hey, because it's good now, it's always going to be good. I believe that your tax dollars should follow your kid to where they decide to go to school, and I think we need to start loving the product of education rather than just the institution. I'm a proud Arlington Red Devil, and I hope Arlington's always around, but if Arlington's a failing school eventually, I believe we need to come to the table and figure that out, that we need to get this right. I was in Iraq, and I was talking to a Finnish colonel and an American general. Finland's always top of the world rankings on their education system. And he asked me, he said, what are you guys doing over there in the United States? You have kids that are struggling to read and write, and now you guys want to introduce this agenda that's going to confuse them even more. And that is why I am for school choice. I believe that it is a free market. It provides competition, but also I'm a proud product of public schools. There's also people wanting to say I'm anti-teacher. I believe when you have that tax dollar follow the student, it needs to go directly to the teacher. And I truly believe it's, and again, I'm trying to be brief here. This is a huge issue, right? But we want to blame our teachers a lot of the time for the product of the kids. Where to me, it's not. We shouldn't be sending our kids to school to be raised. The problem is the home. And that's, again, it goes back to, I don't believe the government's here to solve all of our problems. I think a lot of this resides within us, in the room as individuals, but also within the faith-based organizations like the church, and rebuilding those values in our community where people are coming from strong family units, and we're not relying on a teacher in a school to raise our kids. So I believe the teacher gets too much of the blame for an issue that is actually the home.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I'll just say something briefly. I'm helping and supporting Ty Matthews and talking to a lot of people. You throw all this stuff away, I'm going to talk about real experiences, real life experiences with Ty and his opponent. I spent time with both of them. they are on the complete opposite ends of the spectrum as far as integrity, character. And people ask me, said, well, you was with John Cross. Yeah, I was a few years ago, but he's let us down. And so I've spent time with Ty, I've spent time with John Cross. This is my life experiences, is that he's let us down. I mean, I talked to a lady that helped him get elected, and she's really disappointed. You know, so I wanted to bring up my personal experiences, and that it's not just these things going around that I'm basing my opinion on. I'm basing it on real life experiences that I've spent with both of them, and that's why I'm supporting Ty.
I didn't pay Earl to say that.
Earl's a product of a public school too.
Kathy, could I just ask Ty one more question, more of a statement, and that would be, please address, if you, when you're elected, address the redistricting issue. The gerrymandering has ruined the politics in this state. And I think it's something that has caused more division than it has unity, and we need to address that. And it's something that I feel that I'm trying to speak to all the possible representatives on that issue.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I'm not standing here saying I have a solution. I think anyone that will raise their hand and say they have a solution to this issue, they really don't understand how complex it is, the amount of amendments that we have in our Constitution right now. But it is an issue we have to address to make sure everyone in Ohio is fairly represented. So, any other questions?
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
In relation to issue 2, which was passed and went into law in December, I was under the asinine assumption that the people of Ohio passed a law that would be instituted as passed. What are your feelings on the state legislature having the capability of changing those laws without the people of Ohio having a chance to vote on those?
Yeah, so is everyone familiar with issue 1 and 2? Issue 1 was passed as an amendment, and issue 2 was just passed as a ballot initiative. So it allows the legislature...
It is passed as a law.
So it allows the legislature to go in and amend that law. That's the typical process. I believe that we shouldn't repeal it. That's what the people voted for. Looking at how we can make it a better law in the sense of preventing children from being abused. One of the ways that this is the vaping right now is a huge thing. I think we need to restrict the access of that as much as we can to children. I believe my ultimate philosophy on anything mind altering to society I would be opposed to, but it is what the people voted for, so I honor that. I think there is also potential legal so I have this written, and you may know this, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can grow up to 12 plants right now, personally. The amount of bud those 12 plants produce would immediately put you in violation of how much you can actually have in your possession as a citizen. So I think we need to iron out certain issues like that so people that are growing aren't automatically breaking the law. So I think there's ways that we can make this a better piece of legislation eventually. It was an initiative, but making it a better piece by amending it and putting these, and that's going to be a great maybe question for the prosecutor here. But all I'll say is I'm willing to come to the table and listen to what Macomb has to say about this. Like I said, I have my strong opinions, but I'm here to represent you, and you shouldn't send me to Columbus to come up with all the solutions. I believe...
Excuse me for interrupting, but my issues aren't particularly with marijuana. One marijuana issue in its own is in that legislature can, without my voting on it again, amend something that I voted on and passed.
Yeah.
That's my issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue that I have.
Yeah, and if it was passed as an amendment, then they couldn't have, right? That's the process.
Well, I understand that. It was an initiative, yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like politics.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ty.
I'll step out here if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well,
And-
Sean, you're next.
Maybe you want to listen.
Maybe I'll have to.
Yeah, maybe we'll figure out for this time.
I've got out-of-state money too, it's from my sister-in-law.
Okay.
All right, I'll be brief as well. I'm Sean Abbott. I am running for Hancock County Prosecutor. I'm an attorney in Findlay. I practice with Hackenberg, Pikemer, and Worth, so I know Rob real well. I don't know if that's good or bad or indifferent. I'm from Findlay, born and raised, grew up in Findlay, graduated Findlay High School 2001, stuck around with the University of Findlay, graduated 2005. While I was at UF, I actually started 8E Curbside. Anybody's familiar with 8E Curbside? No? Got married to my wife in 2007 and followed her down to the South Central Ohio area. Lived in Dayton for a bit. We had our first daughter. She was 8 months old. I decided I wanted to go to law school. So I quit a job and went to law school with an 8-month-old daughter. So I treated it like a job. But I did well in law school. I earned an opportunity to serve as a law clerk for the United States District Court. I also served as a law clerk for the United States Attorney's Office, which is the federal prosecutor. In those two experiences, I realized, the courtroom's where I wanted to be, and I was comfortable in the courtroom. So, since passing the bar, I have actively practiced law. Been doing this for over 10 years. I spent half my career in private practice, the other half in public practice. As a trial attorney, I am very experienced. I've done 18 adult felony jury trials. I secured convictions for aggravated burglary, aggravated robbery, sexual assault. These are jury convictions, not pleas. So I know what it's like to go to bat for a victim and for the county. I'm running for county prosecutor though because I am experienced. I have the experience to do the job. I have the qualifications to do the job. And on top of that, my wife and I also have 2 daughters that we're raising in our community. So I owe it to them to help keep our community safe. But prior to moving back home to Findlay, we lived in a small county called Fayette County. Washington Courthouse, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but a very rural, very agricultural community. We lived out on a farm. I miss it terribly, but my wife's an administrator, and one of her demands is we have to live in the school district where she works, and she is with Findlay City Schools. So we're in Findlay. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, your county prosecutor has to be an experienced attorney. They have to know how to, one, work a courtroom comfortably, build relationships with law enforcement, work with, the local police departments, and have a good speaking relationship, be comfortable where the department can call you and ask you questions, and you work together hand in hand. If you need something more, you talk to them. You say, this is what we need. If they got a great case, you take it, you prosecute it, and you serve justice. And that's what a prosecutor does, is we're out for justice. We need to do what's right. We need to punish the drug dealers. We need to punish those who, are committing violent crimes, crimes against property. Those are all the real crime, the serious crime. And that's all crime that I've got experience prosecuting. So really, that's it. That's why I'm running for prosecutor. I am qualified. I'm experienced. And on top of that, I believe in Hancock County. I'm from Hancock County. I care about the future of Hancock County. And I want to see our community thrive. Any questions for me?
All right. What are we going to do about all the illegals? Are they going to come to your desk to decide what to do with them?
Unfortunately, no. Any time you deal with illegals, that is a federal issue. Just the state of Ohio simply does not have the jurisdiction legally to do anything. However, if they give us probable cause to arrest, and we find out they're not here lawfully, that's absolutely going to be reported to immigration. But until then, we all have constitutional rights. We all were born fortunate in this country, and we all have these great rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. My presumption is going to be that unless you prove us otherwise, you have that same constitution.
And if they're speeding or driving out here without a license, that would come across your desk first?
It would not come across our desk. That would be a municipal prosecution. We are only felony crime. So come across Rob's desk. Talk to Rob. Rob, what are you going to do about this? It's a tough issue. It's definitely an issue that needs to be resolved, but it's a federal issue, so you need a good president that's going to enforce our borders. You need a Congress that's going to enforce our borders, and then those that are here. It's an issue, and but my presumption is always, until you prove us wrong, be a productive member of our community, and if you acclimate to our customs, our norms, and then you're not hurting anybody, do your thing, but don't break the law.
Thank you.
No problem.
Come on, guys. Oh, Sean, I got started, you were here, no.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, I appreciate it, thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, we have several people that have signed in to speak. Is there anyone else on the list that changed their mind and would like to speak?
I just wanted to say that I believe that Ty has a good character. I met him at a prayer group. He wasn't running for office at the time, it's been a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I was glad to see him running for office.
Thank you. Okay, just a reminder, 3-minute time limit. Joe, you would like to speak on ordinance 2024-01.
Yeah, I would like to speak on that. I would hopefully get a little more time if it's necessary.
That would be up to the council to decide that.
Well, what does council think about that? Because
Well,
I can wait till,
go your 3
I can wait till
minutes.
legislature if you want to,
Let's go
when you
to
read
3
it.
minutes, and then they can decide what they would like to do.
Well, like I said, I can wait, if you want to wait till you read the ordinance, that's fine.
No, this is fine.
Yep, you're fine.
Well, I would like to have the ordinance read completely when it is read, and I would like to have each part of that ordinance explained by the solicitor, because there's some language in there that I find, maybe it's my mind, but I find it very confusing and less than straightforward. So that, that I would ask council to do. And I would also ask that if council took into consideration, if this legislation is, or if this is passed, that we will obviously receive no tax revenue from the sales of marijuana in the state of Ohio. Unless I'm wrong about that. Is that correct, Rob?
I don't think the state knows what's going to happen yet. There's going to still be about another 6 months where they're kicking around what all the rules and regulations are going to be, and the tax dollars, how they're going to get distributed, nobody knows. This is completely a mess right now.
So again, legislation, our legislators are doing this right now, trying to decide how they want to fiddle with the law.
Right. Usually we don't see this.
Then my question also would be to council to possibly table this ordinance until the state of Ohio decides what they want to do with it. And then maybe we could go with what the state of Ohio decides with. So, again, and thank you, Rob, for providing that information to Kathy. I asked Kathy to get some information for me. Was that Ohio Revised Code law on the books before this ordinance passed, or before this state or initiative passed?
Correct. I mean, that's what a lot of townships and Van Buren and other villages are all probably going to do it. I mean, that's the rumor going around. And they'll pass, because right now the Ohio Revised Code allows for a village or township or city to not allow dispensaries and the cultivation of marijuana in their community. Unless Ohio changes that, you're probably going to see that go into effect in our kind of area. Now, there's plenty of areas in big college towns and other places that aren't going to care, and then dispensaries will go there. But I think you're going to see in a lot of communities like this that the villages and townships and cities are going to probably pass, or keep their ordinances already prohibited it on the books. They're doing it now. If there's a change that comes down over summer or early summer, then a village, township, or city would just adjust their ordinance. I mean, any ordinance passed can be repealed at any time. Any ordinance passed can be amended at any time.
By another ordinance, correct?
Yeah, like I said to the mayor, I said, if somebody comes into town and says, I'll pay you $3 million to set up shop, you might want to repeal it pretty quick, and then let them do it. But that's not up to me, I'm just a law guy. I mean, council would vote on something like that. That's a weird example, but that would be, the village isn't locking itself into anything. But people are taking, villages and cities and townships are taking the reaction now because they don't have any operators in their communities now. So that changes everything. If they don't change the Ohio Revised Code, and somebody's already operating, then they have more of a chance of the ability to continue to operate, and they can even go to a vote. So that's why you're seeing the villages, townships, and cities passing these things.
Okay, Joe, I've allowed you to go 4 minutes, so council, do you have the decision whether you would like to have Joe continue? Do you have a lot more that you'd like to discuss?
If he's got more, I can speak.
Okay,
Oh,
we need it as a motion, and Mike.
I'll make a motion to allow Joe to
I'll second
continue
that.
for 4 minutes.
You said to go another 4 minutes?
4 minutes.
And would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherrick?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
I would like to allot that time then when the ordinance is read, and, or if it could be read now, that would be fine with me if council would want to do that. But again, I just, you know, it's not a long ordinance, and, I question some of the wording in it, and I would like for Rob to explain it to me, if that's possible.
Is it just on the business side, I think, are you looking at business or the home use, Joe? Or-
Well, that's part of my question, is I don't part of this, you know, is this entire ordinance geared towards only commercial sales, use, and preparation, and whatever?
This language would prohibit everything that issue 2 allowed. Period.
Exactly.
You'd be right the way the laws were a year ago,
So
or
it,
20 years ago.
I'm sorry?
The law would then be the same in this village as it was a year ago or 20 years ago.
So again, this pertains to personal use then also,
Correct. Well, not personal use, because there's going to be
or
issues of
personal growing.
cultivation.
I can't grow marijuana if I want to then, is that
You're
correct?
eliminating what
If,
you-
by this ordinance.
Right.
Okay, I'll ask Mel to read it, and I will not include that in your 4 minutes. So Mel, would you please read the complete ordinance?
Joe, would you like me to stop like after each section?
I would appreciate that,
Okay.
thanks, Melissa.
Okay. Ordinance 0/2020. Ordinance O 2024-01, an ordinance prohibiting the cultivation, processing, or retail sale of marijuana for adult use purposes within the village limits of the village of Macomb and declaring an emergency. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Village of Macomb, Ohio, 2/3 of all members elected or appointed thereto concurring. Section 1. Council for the Village of Macomb, Ohio has determined that it is in the village's best interest for the health, safety, and welfare of its residents to prohibit any cultivation, processing, or retail dispensing of marijuana, including for adult use purposes in any form within the village's territorial limits.
Do you have anything you'd like to discuss on that section?
Well, again, so Rob pretty much covered it when he said that this ordinance is going to abolish what the people of Ohio voted on in a majority. And that's pretty much takes care of it.
Section 2, wherefore the cultivation, processing, or retail dispensing of marijuana, including for adult use purposes, is hereby prohibited anywhere within the village's territorial limits.
Let me make a comment. So I've discussed this with a lot of different attorneys that are keeping an eye on this and researching this. There's so many, Joe, so many different nuances of this that it's hard to even have a discussion on it because they haven't settled on what they're going to do anyway, other than we had a vote back in November. So for instance, you can go to Michigan and you can buy a bag of gummies.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
But you couldn't have those in Ohio, like fireworks in the old days.
Well, you can't speed
Well,
either. You know,
so-
you can't drive too fast.
So in Michigan, you can go buy gummies right now, but now you can have those in Ohio. Okay? But this ordinance is talking about the cultivation, processing, and then retail dispensing of it. The main goal of these villages, ordinances, and cities is to say, we don't want a dispensary off one of our major routes or right outside the foot limit they can allow for schools to set up a dispensary, or next to the University of Findlay, or next to the University of Bowling Green State University. That's what these places are trying to do.
Commercial cultivation and retail sales.
Correct.
But they could do it right outside town, right?
if there's nothing restricting it, or they're not zoned, you know, they're gonna find a place to go off I-75, I suspect.
Townships are probably gonna do the same thing.
The townships already have.
Well, you got a very interesting issue that I haven't wrapped my arms around yet. The attorneys I talked to have in Pleasant Township did the thing. How that works.
That brings up a good point, Rob. We are in Pleasant Township, right?
Right.
So if they don't have an ordinance, how does that work? The village said you can't, but we're in Pleasant Township. Does that mean they can build one?
Pleasant Township already, I believe, has already said the same
They
thing.
have, okay.
So if we decided not to, the village of Macomb decided not to, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, okay.
I guess you're still in Pleasant Township and you can't do it. If I was a retail dispenser, I'm not gonna invest $1 million to set up shop here with any chance of being shut down. Somebody's gonna walk them, no doubt about it, off I-75.
Okay, you can read the next section, please.
Section 3, this ordinance is hereby declared to be an emergency measure for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, and safety of the village of Macomb, Ohio. Section 4, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after the earliest period provided by law. It is also ordained that it is found and determined that all formal actions of this council concerning and relating to the adoption of this ordinance were adopted in an open meeting of this council.
And that's all boilerplate language. Every ordinance.
I would just like to say that, obviously, I have my issue being more with, not particularly with the marijuana issue. I really could care what anybody does with the marijuana, or if they want to, or if they want to or not. My issue is with the idea that what a majority of the people in Ohio voted for being eliminated. That's my personal opinion. I appreciate council extending my time, and I appreciate council's views. I can relate a little bit to sitting on council. Behind that, there were contentious issues when I was on, and I understand, each has their own. But again, my issue with the issue is that I feel that an issue was voted on and approved, passed, initiated, whatever the correct terminology is for it. And now it's become picked apart to suit someone else's. It isn't what I voted for. So I won't take up any more time. Thank you, Kathy and council.
Thank you. Earl, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? Did he leave? Oh, no, there he is. Okay. I know you had Ty's name beside you, and then he marked it down, but I didn't know. Just checking.
Gave you some more time here.
All right, thank you. Mike had PMP and Northwest. Did you have anything you wanted to add on those, Mike? For committee reports?
Nope.
In your packet on pages 16.
Hey, Kath, do I get to talk? I was on the list, I think.
Oh, I am so sorry, Chuck.
Oh, yes, okay. Nice try, Kathy.
I am so sorry. I was like looking down.
Okay.
Yes, you
so-
do, Chuck.
And I'll try to be brief and less than 2 minutes. First of all, I want to talk about taxes. I have to say this, as a former mayor, I don't know what their issue was with Mr. Potts. I know I had my issues. I probably could assume what yours were, but I hate to see him go. He collected a lot of revenue for this village. So my question is, I know you're going to Finley, right?
Yeah.
We don't know the cost of that. Is that correct?
We do not have a final cost at this time.
So,
We have a ballpark estimate.
okay, I wouldn't go buy a new car without knowing the cost.
We have
But-
an estimate that was given to us.
Yeah, and then the second thing I'd just say on that is, are you planning, what's next year's plan? If you go with Finley, you're gonna plan on just staying with Finley,
That'll be up to
at the
council.
council? Okay. And one last thing on taxes, and I'm done with the taxes. do you think you'll get the personal treatment with going to Finley that we got from Mr. Potts? And again, I say that with tongue in cheek, but if I call there, are they going to answer my questions? Does anybody know?
I can speak on that. Yes, they will. And
They
there's
will.
a handful of women that work in there, I believe 1 or 2 men. That was one of the reasons we went with Finley instead of a different,
Like Rita or
different, because you're gonna call in like, you're never gonna get the same person. You can go in the office in there during working hours and be able to get the same person.
Good,
So
good, that's good.
You'll get more of a, hopefully, the same encounter only in Finley.
Okay, good, that's good to hear.
And I
Well,
believe you'll be able to file online now as well.
I did, my hope is they, and you guys all know, Jim went after everybody. Just hope that Finley goes after everybody as well. Everybody needs to pay their taxes. In regards to ordinance 2024-01, couple things, and I think, Rob, you answered this. My first question was define cultivation and processing, because the law does allow people to grow 6 plants. You've answered that. You cannot grow 6 plants or 12 or whatever in the village anymore. So will they be arrested if they do?
That's a good question, because there's no real penalty involved with that yet,
Okay.
like there would be if you got caught
Yeah.
15 years ago, to
Yeah.
keep it simple.
Would they need a warrant to raid your house?
Well, I suppose they could get a search warrant if there's drug activity going on in the house or any criminal activity.
Okay.
Again, there is no direction to where they're headed with
I
this.
get
They'll
it,
close
Rob.
down.
I'm just, so it says adult use. What age is adult? 18 or 21 and over?
21.
And 21.
Yeah,
Pardon me?
21.
2-1.
Your ordinance doesn't say that, it says adult. I think you should.
They define that, it's somewhere in there, in the higher vice code, that,
Okay.
all those, there's a huge definition section.
Okay.
Matter of fact, right there you go. Adult user is at least 21 years of age.
Okay. What are we going to do about the grocery or the convenience store? They currently sell marijuana, THC. Are they going to be asked to stop selling that? They're going to be asked to leave town?
They're
If
not,
you pass this.
they're not selling marijuana.
They're selling THC,
No.
Delta 9 and Delta 10, which is THC,
Delta
which is
8 and
which is a
Delta 10.
product of marijuana.
So Delta 8 and Delta 10, it is not marijuana. There's lots of chemicals. Technically, it's not. If you look them up, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
I agree with what you're saying, but legally, they say they're not.
Okay.
Because there's chemicals in them, and it's not the plant itself.
I get
They're
that, but
extra,
I'm
you
just
know,
asking the
things that's
question, if you're not
extra.
allowing cultivation
You
or
can buy
retail.
That stuff's legal. It's legal. You can buy it online. Most of the,
I know what
most
you
of
can
the
buy online.
places carry it.
Yeah. I'm just
There's
asking
not a
how
whole
that's
lot
gonna
we
be
can-
handled.
With the way people do things, there's not a whole lot we can do.
Your section 1 says the village of Macomb has determined that it's in the village's best interest for the health, safety, and welfare of residents to prohibit cultivation. How do you know? Who did you ask? I don't know that there was a public forum. No one came to my door. How do you know you're doing what's in the best interest of the village?
Just as a matter of parliamentary procedure, and I'm not getting mad at you here.
I know
Jim,
you're not.
Public comments are public comments, not usually questions and discussions, so council doesn't have to answer a question if you don't know that answer or needed to go and assign to a committee. That's why you hear a lot of other villages or cities that we'll give that to the tax folks and have them take a look at it. You know, well noted, thank you, or your letter, well noted, thank you, we'll get it to zoning. You don't have to answer individually questions posed in a public comments. A lot of public comments sessions are for, I have concern about the new sewer, here's my position on it, not necessarily questions, but every council can do what it wants.
And that's okay. I just bring that up for the council to think about. And finally, I did talk to John Cross about the tax revenues. He says, of course, politician. He says though that that we would lose any tax revenues if we pass this ordinance in the village, which is fine. If you guys are not willing to take more money, that's your choice. But that's what he said would happen. Thank you. That's all the time I needed. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck. Sorry, I.
That's all right, Kathy.
See that little check there? I was looking. Okay, thanks. In Jamie Cemetery from pages 16 to 18.
Those are the approved minutes from the November meeting. At the last meeting, I'll just kind of take note that we voted and have updated when our cemetery meetings are. They will still be on the odd months, but they will now coincide with the same day as PNC and fire at 6 p.m. on odd months. So the next meeting for cemetery will be May 21st at 6 p.m.
And in front of you, you all received some new pink forms, which have the new cemetery on them, so the yellow ones are now pretty much obsolete. You also have in front of you on page 19, the minutes from finance. Any questions for Beth? If not, is there a motion then to approve the finance meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the finance meeting minutes from February 21st.
There you go.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Pardon? We weren't here. We had
We're
to abstain.
abstaining from that, we weren't at that meeting.
That's what I was gonna say, I would like,
Abstain.
Oh,
I would like to thank Tyler for doing the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
so you want me to call the full roll?
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
that's
there
fine.
wasn't- Yes, and we're abstaining.
No, would you call the roll then, please?
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Abstain.
Mrs. Clyde?
Abstain.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mr. Rumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy? Oh, I already got you, sorry. Mrs. Gill?
Yes. And then there was also a motion out of that to increase the pay for Sharon Ackerman, so we'll need someone to make that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the increase in pay for Sharon Ackerman's cleaning services.
I have a question, Rob. With approving the minutes, does that approve the motions in the minutes? Or do you have to?
No.
You have to
The minutes are just
specifically say it, okay.
Right, right, these are, you're talking about committee reports.
Yeah, so if there's a motion in the committee.
Right, if there was something that the committee was looking into or an issue that came up,
Okay.
the committee, I didn't read these committee
No,
reports,
you're
but
fine.
if there was a committee report that said it's recommended that we pay the lifeguards X dollars, then at some point in time, that's gonna be an item of business.
Okay.
For someone to make a motion, and this council then say,
Okay.
we agree and vote to pay whatever dollars.
Okay. I just wanted to.
Committees make recommendations, and the council approves. But the minutes need approval of there.
We have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
You can't second it.
Yeah, you can.
We weren't a part of that though.
But there's a motion.
It's still a
Right,
motion.
It's now an official motion of council. Outside of what?
Well, somebody else ought to just
Yeah.
second.
Yeah. Just need a second then.
I'll second.
Get my Robert's rules out.
Okay, now any further discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rumbaugh? Yes. Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker? Mrs. Clyde?
Abstain.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Okay, Tyler provided us the minutes from planning and zoning on page 20. Looking for a motion to approve the planning and zoning minutes.
I'll make a motion. I second.
Discussion on that. All those in favor of approving, I guess you better call the roll on that.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Sherry?
Yes.
Mr. Rumbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Fazy?
Yes.
Okay, under old business, the update on junk vehicles, I'm not sure.
I can do that.
Right.
So we had a meeting earlier about junk vehicles. A lot of villages over the last year or two have been trying to shear up their ordinances, getting them more easier to enforce and modernize. And Village of Macomb has not done that yet. You still have a very difficult ordinance to create litigation issues or any battles that are completely unnecessary. I've shared with Greg the ordinance that the city of Findlay is using, Van Buren is using, I believe it's Arlington's using it, and I don't know about Benton Ridge, but those are the ones that I represent. What we're talking about doing through my assistance is you have a Chapter 97 or exactly whatever it's called that concerns all your health and sanitation, your junk laws and storage of refrigerators and everything under the sun. Some of that language in there is getting kind of old, and I was going to go through and make suggestions, and then that would go to whatever committee, and then I think we need to just do a whole nother 97, even though the first goal was initially the junk vehicles. We might as well take care of the grass statute needs some work and some other things that I marked. Not a lot, just a few things. We might as well do it. And then that gets us on track to more easily enforce junk cars, which we talked about doing more through me than Tammy, and false promises and handshakes that just go round and round and round. So the court, the bottom line is the court ultimately by law is allowed to order the car removed. And now that battle is between the bad car guy and Judge Hackenberg or Judge Bishop. And if they don't want to remove the car on their order, then they go to jail. Judges aren't writing money in letters. They're going to make them sit in jail until they find the phone to call someone to get the car out of the yard. It's that easy. And I'll let your zoning committee or whatever committee look at that. And if we want to update it, we'll update it.
Any other questions or discussion about the junk vehicles? Any other old business? Under new business, our scheduled meeting for April happens to be the Monday of the eclipse.
I'll make a motion to move the April 8th meeting, April 15th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Any other new business? Council reports. Tyler, did you have anything else you wanted to share this evening?
Yeah, well, planning and zoning meeting next Wednesday, the 20th at 6:30 p.m. And I'd like to call Monday this evening an executive session for conferences with the board's attorney to discuss matters which are the subject of pending or immediate court actions.
What do you want there?
Counsel?
And police officer, law officer.
Yes.
And then Mr. Inman.
Yes.
And just Walter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Joe can stay if he wants.
Okay, Sarah, do you have anything?
They're not, thank you. Thanks for excusing me from last meeting, I was very sick and the kids were sick.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't share
They didn't
that.
want me to be here.
No. Even the next day, you didn't.
Yeah, the phone call was enough.
I don't have anything at this time except for the finance committee meeting will be next Wednesday at 5:30. Anything that you want on to?
I can't think of anything. Unless you guys have something.
Is there anything to discuss?
I don't think so.
Do we want to have a meeting?
If we don't have anything,
Okay.
No, your
Hold on
final
till next
say.
month.
We'll hold off till next month? Okay, and no meeting next Wednesday.
so there will not be a finance. I need to contact the courier. Maybe they'll put it in. Who knows? Mike? you
I
have
don't have anything.
Haley?
Just for Parks and Rec, Tyler, if you're available on night, for March 28th at 6:30. That week I'm in DC, so I can't do it beforehand.
It's on Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
What time, I'm sorry?
6:30.
6:30. I know they think that's the same night that the Community Partnership has their meeting.
Oh, is there?
3:20. So you want to try to shoot it for the 20th, since the finances.
Maybe you want to do it during compliance time slot with like.
Oh, that's true, since we're not doing finance.
Right.
Yeah, that would work.
I mean, that just came up, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
Does that work,
Parks and
Tyler?
Recs
Yeah.
is going to be
You're already
at
gonna be here,
5:30?
so. Right.
So that's at
5:30.
5:30. That's what always gives me.
Okay, we'll send that to the courier and see what really comes out.
Confusion.
Anything else, Haley?
No.
Jamie?
I don't have anything.
Student committee reports, do you want to share a little bit about
Yep,
what we've talked about?
Yeah, so Kathy, and I were discussing them doing another kind of fundraiser / community service in light of Primrose, not having a flower shop. So Kathy came up with the idea of getting some plants and maybe vegetables, flowers, to have the students sell as kind of another light fundraiser, to the public. So we can kind of advertise that, and people can come up here and get some plants for their gardens or homes. And it would be a first come, first served. Once it's gone, no pre-orders situation. They probably won't make a ton of money off of it, but the president of their committee thought it was a wonderful idea and said she'd like to go ahead and move forward with that.
We're not going to compete with the school. They sell flowers. The only two things that we're looking at flower-wise are the ferns and then the already prepared geraniums. You know, maybe 10 red, 10 white, 10 pink, 20 ferns, and then a couple flats of vegetables. I'm looking at Amherst. I don't know how many of you here travel down Stola area. They do not sell wholesale to groups. Basically, their prices are low enough that you're still getting a good deal. So if they make a couple bucks, probably they can sell the ferns, I'm sure, for 25. And we thought if they set up during the garage sale, and then what's left, if we can keep them till they do their thing out at the park and try to get rid of the rest out there.
Okay, so where are you doing it? In here?
Well,
or where do
we
you wanna
haven't
do
really
it?
discussed that.
Okay, just let me know.
Okay.
Before, so I can get it on the list.
Get it on the ad, okay.
Yep.
I have to put in the order to Amherst.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, due date's until April 13th, that's my
Okay.
last, but
Okay.
I'll get hold of one of you guys.
I would imagine it'll probably be here. It would make sense to have it right downtown.
Okay.
If it's nice, I'll have them set out a couple tables and flag people down that way.
Okay.
Anything else, student committee?
And we didn't have anything additional to report at this time. She just said that there's a lot of different things kind of in bundle at the moment, so.
Okay. One of the other things that I did offer, I know at the last meeting they talked about only having one bounce house. I know I took grandkids there last year, and I think 2 would be better, but I know there was discussion about the cost. It definitely follows one of our Heart and Soul goals, and I do have some Heart and Soul money that I think that it would be nice of council to pick up a second bounce house for the kids. So I would like to have that as a motion, just.
They canceled their student meeting this afternoon, but I will try to talk to them a little more, because I'd like to make sure there's something for the younger kids. Like, the obstacle course is great for a certain age up, but like, what about the younger kids too?
Even if it's just the one they get in and just bounce around,
Yeah.
that.
I'll make a motion to
The Heart and Soul.
Heart and Soul, to offer the soul funds for another bounce house for the student committee.
Park Day.
Park Day. Yeah.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, legislative.
So first reading of ordinance O 2024-03, an ordinance establishing positions, wages, and fees for the swimming pool and staff for the 2024 pool season, effective April 1st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
You'll pass that.
It would be advisable with
I'll make
us.
a motion to suspend the council's rules.
We're doing the pool hours, that's also part of it.
Is that in there?
Yeah, section 4, page 22.
That's what I put in the packet, the days that were open. I
Yeah.
didn't list specific, especially if we end up finding someone to do the, water aerobics.
Yes.
To suspend the rules, but that's leaving it as is.
So my problem was, and I brought that up the last time, was the hourly rates. We had discussed changing those to more of a range versus a solid state rate.
Right, but there was a motion that evening, I believe, of $18, and that passed.
Sorry, what was that $18, what was that about? That was an increase
manager.
from last year?
No, it was the
The
same.
same, okay.
Same as last year.
What was the thought process behind the range? Why?
That way, if we had someone that came in with more, say, experience or qualifications, that we could pay them, say, more, so maybe the range should be $18 to $20 an hour or something, versus just a solid 18, it's kind of a good.
But it does state in there that we can't go back if we look at that, the way it's worded, it says that council can change that.
For advertising purposes, when you're trying to get people to apply to a position, it looks better if they know, oh, well, if I've got the qualifications, I can prove it, then I might be able to get more than the minimum.
And my explanation on the hours was the second one that I sent out from my annual report. Number 2.
When do we start hiring for this?
The advertisement was in the paper,
So you start the,
so we
like,
already
soonest.
put it in.
We haven't set
I have
days.
until April 26th for the pool manager and May 3rd for lifeguards.
The deadline?
Yeah. But you always have to extend the lifeguards because they don't.
You gotta chase them, yeah.
Last day of school, I guess I'll be a lifeguard.
And some of them might find it hard to squeeze in the classes with spring sports.
Which we've already, I know I had on there was a night, this last weekend, those classes. I found out McKenna Hefferly was the only one at that class. And then Putnam County has another one in April.
This is getting off the subject, but I've had so many people come up to me and ask about swim lessons.
I was gonna bring that up too. I'm paying Ottawa to do it, or Finley.
I don't know, Putnam County YMCA, if they would be in, I don't know if County County was, but Putnam County might.
And that's who I talked with about the water aerobics also. with Putnam County.
Yeah, and that's hard, all the time.
The nice thing is they can do it before the season starts at the YMCA rather than waiting until.
Yeah, so you go to what, you go to the Y?
Yeah, I just signed Brittany up at the Y to do one.
Yeah.
I have the motion on the table to suspend the rules for this ordinance. Then if we get a second, I do have a discussion I'd like to have about it, so if not, it dies, then it, nobody seconds my motion to suspend.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion.
Thank you. The only question or concern I have about this is not having the dates set. I know we do have it on here Sunday through Saturday, 12 to 5, 2 days a week, 12 to 8. For hiring purposes, should we have those cemented, like the decision made, what days they need to be?
I am also hung up on that too, and I think it would make easier for us playing around the pool parties. You're gonna know you're open those days. The con to that is the weather. If the weather stinks that day, you're not gonna go set.
Right.
But there is advantages to the village too for having set days for a lot of reasons.
Right.
And and I'm fine with that, as I stated the meeting before, it was discussed, because I even emailed, who did I ask, Jamie, somebody, no, Haley. I asked her what days you decided for sure, and she told me Monday, Wednesday.
We never decided for sure. It was still a discussion that we were having here.
I think
That meeting.
Monday and Wednesday was discussion.
Monday and
Yeah.
Wednesday.
I just don't think Monday's a good idea with it being dollar